Before we get started, have you gotten my free ebook, 10 Quick Tips to Calm the Chaos When You're Feeling Overwhelmed? Go to thesuccess.life/free resource. This ebook will give you 10 quick strategies to calm yourself down, tame the chaos, even in the midst of your challenges. So go now to thesuccess.life/free resource and get your copy today. Hello, my friend, and welcome to Press Pause. I'm your host, Janelle Bruland, and I'm here to help you regain control of your life for you. Each week, I will be giving you helpful tips and one thing you can implement immediately to overcome the chaos of life and take back control. I was once an overwhelmed, overcommitted entrepreneur, and I get what it's like to be balancing all of the things between work and home. And I'm here to help you take back control. Let's dive right in. Welcome to Press Pause. On today's episode, we're going to talk about how to press pause and stop negative self-talk. Now, you would know what I'm talking about here. This is that voice of the inner critic that comes up sometimes when you least expect it, and certainly not when you want to hear from it. Now, think about if your friend, your best friend, brings you a problem and they want to hear from you, your advice. Well, you're not going to beat them up about it. You're going to listen with kindness and compassion, and you're going to talk to them in a loving and caring way. Now, how come you can do that with your best friend, but it's so hard to treat yourself that same way? Instead of cheering yourself on, you tend to beat yourself up. I know, I've done it too. So how can you stop negative self-talk? I'm going to give you 5 ways today. The first one is be aware that you're having the negative self-talk. Sometimes we don't even realize that negative chatter that's going in our mind, that voice that's telling us, you're not good enough. Why don't you just give up? It's never gonna work out. You're never gonna get this. Instead, you need to change it, but you can't change it if you don't know it's happening. So the first step is become aware of that negative self-talk. The second step is log it. Start logging when you notice your negative self-talk. You know what? I think you're going to be surprised at how many negative things that you say to yourself throughout the day. So take this challenge on with me. For this next week ahead, I want you to think about your negative self-talk and to actually start logging it. Write it down even, and see how many times a day that you're talking to yourself in a positive way or in a negative way. Log those times you're speaking to yourself with that negative self-talk. Number 3, it's time to confront your critic. Like I said, I think you're going to be shocked when you see how many negative things that you say to yourself when something doesn't go your way, how quickly you start beating yourself up. So it's time to confront your inner critic. Confront your inner critic with the truth. If your inner critic says to you, you're never going to get this, instead, tell yourself the truth. I don't get it now, but I'm going to get it. I'm not getting it yet, but I'm learning. See how you can turn it around and turn it into something more positive and affirmative? Confront your inner critic. The 4th step is replace it. Replace that negative self-talk with a positive affirmation. Just like I talked about, if you find that your inner critic tells you that you're not good enough, instead tell yourself, I can do this. I am good enough. I deserve this. So replace that negative self-talk with something positive. And finally, release it. As you have this negative self-talk that's coming up, you've got to let it go, my friend. Sometimes when you recognize it, it's going to start swirling around and ruminating in your head. Well, that's not the way to solve your negative self-talk. So you need to release it for good. As these thoughts are coming up in your head, release that negative self-talk. So here's the steps again. Pay attention to your negative self-talk. You've got to be watching for it. Watch when it creeps up. Number 2, log it. Log that self-talk. Be aware of when it's happening. Write it down when it does so that you're starting to track it. What you track, you can change. Number 3, confront that critic. Tell that critic where they can go. You're not going to tolerate this anymore. Number 4, release it. When you have those negative thoughts, make sure you're releasing them. You don't want those anymore. Tell yourself that those negative thoughts no longer serve you. And number 5, replace that negative thought. Replace the negative thought with a positive affirmation. So press pause and stop your negative self-talk. Thank you for listening today. Take that one thing you learned and start making it a habit in your life now. And be sure to tune in next week for another thing you can do to improve your life and be the best version of yourself. Cheers to making this time for you each and every day. If you're enjoying this podcast, will you please take a moment to leave a positive review? This helps get the message out to impact as many people as possible. And I encourage you to subscribe to this podcast. That way the episodes will drop each time a new one comes out. Remember, you don't have to be overwhelmed and overcommitted. You have the power to take back control of your life.